Go nice, go. All right, whenever you're ready.
Everybody ready?
Ready to roll? All right.
All right, we will call to order the RTC Specifications Subcommittee meeting of April 11th, 2018. First item of business is conduct a public comment period on items on this agenda. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 2, which is approval of the minutes of the February 14, 2018 meeting. Anybody have any comments or want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 3,
That's going to come back on, right?
that the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada Specification Subcommittee receive a presentation from Southwest Liquid Asphalt and Emulsions on liquid asphalt testing specifications.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if you'll remember, we had this come up at our topics of interest, sorry, mental block there, topics of interest at the February meeting. So Mr. Quisenberry is back to fulfill the request to come before the committee and share his experiences with liquid asphalt testing specifications and the things that he's doing here in the valley. So it's all yours, take it away.
Thank you. So this is a brief overview, speaking to the difference between AC grading and performance grading of liquid asphalt. Early asphalt testing.
Thank you. For the record. The penetration grading of asphalt started in the early 1900s. The softer the asphalt, the higher the penetration number. It evolved then from just a thickness test to a viscosity test. So viscosity grading is the current AC grade that's used here in Clark County. It was developed in the mid-1900s, and it added different viscosities at different temperatures. So it wasn't just looking at a thickness, it was looking at the viscosity. So that was a step forward. This is a picture of a penetration test. Basically, you see a sample of asphalt at the bottom. You put a needle at the top of that sample. The machine has a weight and a millimeter measurement. So you release the weight, you time it for a certain number of seconds, and you record how many millimeters it penetrates into the asphalt. And that's what penetration testing is. These are the viscosity tests that are currently used in Clark County. We have two different temperatures, so you have higher temperature and a medium temperature viscosity. What you do is pull the asphalt through the tube, again with a timed test, and at the end of so many seconds on the test, each test, you measure how much asphalt has been pulled through the tubes. So what this does is basically tell you how thick it is. The thicker it is, the less is pulled through the tubes. The thinner it is, the faster it's pulled through the tubes. So these are the current tests that are used for AC grading. Back in the 1970s, the state and federal highways were failing and they were inconsistent using these AC grading tested. The Federal Highway Program recognized this, and our Federal Highway Administration, they put together a task force and began to try to determine why they were failing and what they needed to do to keep them from failing. During the 70s and 80s, they implemented the Strategic Highway Research Program, or SHARP. They looked at 4 key areas. One was asphalt pavement. The other was concrete and concrete structures. The fourth was highway operations as far as maintenance, work zone safety, snow and ice removal. And then the fourth was a pavement performance. So it was looking at all types of pavements and studying test sections and see how they performed. In the asphalt portion of the SHARP program, the asphalt had 3 primary objectives. investigate why some pavements were performing well while others were not, develop tests and specifications for materials that will outperform and outlast the pavements being constructed of that day, and work with the highway agencies and industry to have the new specs implemented. So the SHARP deliverables were, they're called the Superpave program. It is a performance-graded asphalt, the design and analysis system based on volumetric properties of the asphalt mix, and the mix analysis test and performance prediction models, so the testing that are done on the asphalt mixes. Mix design portion of this is being used by most places, including Clark County. The PG asphalt grading was implemented by all 50 states, so NDOT uses this as well as every state in the U.S. The Superpave performance grading conclusions that penetration grading and viscosity grading are limited to their ability to fully characterize the asphalt binder. The Superpave performance grading is based on the idea that asphalt binders properties should be related to the conditions under which it's used. So basically what that means is on the AC grading, there's no testing done at the low temperature properties. So in performance grading, if you're looking at a 7622, you're testing the asphalt binder at a 76 degrees Celsius and a minus 22 degrees Celsius. So on the upper end, you're looking to see that it remains thick when it's hot. The lower end, you're looking to see that it remains flexible when it's cold. The gap that the AC testing has is there's no testing on the performance or the lower end properties. So you could potentially have cracking issues without checking those properties. This is a simple chart for the temperature grading. See on the left-hand side it has the low temperature properties, on the right-hand side has the upper temperature properties. So there are many different types of asphalt. Some of them are base asphalts. The light green are the ones that are typically delivered directly from the refineries. So a 6422, a 5828, a 7016, those are the most common grades. The yellow ones can be made directly from refineries, although very, very few are. Most of those are a modified product. And then the pink requires modification for sure. So if we go to a 7622, it requires some type of modification. And what that means, when you're modifying asphalt, you are spreading out the temperature ranges. So you're going from a 6422 that would have a 86 degrees temperature spread to a 7622, so that's going to go to a 98 degree temperature spread. So you're making it stiffer at the upper end, softer at the lower end. So you're spreading that out so it performs better in both upper and lower end properties. This is the AASHTO M320 chart for performance grading. At the top, it has the different, or the standard high temperature test properties. So the PG 52, 58, 64, 70, 76, and 82. And then below each one of those, it has the lower end properties. So 7622 would be in the second column from the right. And you would follow that down, and it would give you the properties that you test each of those tests in. So on the original binder, it's performed at 76. So you look at the flash point, the viscosity, and the DSR at 76. Then you run the asphalt through an RTFO to simulate the aging in a hot plant. And then additionally you run the DSR on the aged material. You put it in a pressure aging vessel, and you simulate the long-term aging that the pavement would have on the road. And then you test the low-end properties on that. So after it's aged, you want to see that it remains pliable after the asphalt binder has been aged. So on that, we also run a DSR, a BBR, which is bending beam rheometer, and a direct tension test. The PG grades typically produced, so the base asphalts, and I relate these PG grades to an AC grade. So PG 58 minus 28 is an AC 10, and you see the temperatures that they relate to. So it's 164 or 136.4 degrees Fahrenheit to a negative 18.4 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can just see the difference, different temperatures that each of these binders would be tested at. So an AC 20 would typically be a 6422, an AC 30 would typically be a 70 minus 16. On the modified asphalts, doing the same thing here, a PG grade, the temperature that it would be tested at. So we go down to the second from the bottom at a 76, well, right in the middle, 7622, the third one down. Be tested at 168.8 degrees Fahrenheit to a negative 7.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And the temperature range between the 76 and the minus 22 is a 98 degree spread. So you can choose which performance graded temperature you need. So you might look at a 7022 if you don't need as hot a binder, or you can look at an 82 minus 28 if you want to go hotter. And again, it's the temperature spread, the higher the number between the temperatures, so the greater the distance, the more it has to be modified to meet both of those properties. The Sharp Plus testing, I wanted to bring that into it as well. There are additional tests that many agencies add on to the Sharp program. A lot of the states just run the straight Sharp test that I showed in the chart. NDOT, in addition to the 7622 Sharp tests, they also added the MSCR and two properties on there that they test. They also test the ductility, the solubility, the sieve, and then they increase the original DSR from a 1.0 to a 1.3. So that makes the NDOT 7622 basically at 82 minus 22. This is an example of a modified binder on the bottom versus a non-modified binder on the top. This is an elastic recovery test, and what you do in this test, this is also a Sharp Plus test, but it's a good example of how well the binder is modified. You stretch the binder out to 20 centimeters, and then you hold it in the bath for a period of time. You cut the binder in the middle, and then you allow it to relax and reform in a cold temperature bath. And then you measure the distance between the binder to get the amount of recovery that the binder has. So it doesn't return to the exact shape of the mold, but you can see the difference between a unmodified binder and a polymer modified binder. And that's a significant test for me. And as you look at the stresses on the road due to temperature and loads, traffic loads, you want the binder to absorb those stresses and then return to its original form. So this is a good test for that. Path forward, talking to Michael, I would recommend that this group consider the performance graded testing versus the AC testing. Agencies typically look at their needs and develop their own test programs, and I like, as a supplier, having more stringent tests. It helps us provide a better quality product and gives us a level playing field, so we can, everybody will have to supply the same quality. And that's really what the Sharp program has done, is raise the bar, and I think it's been very successful, and as all the states have adopted it. So with that, I'll ask if there are any questions.
Anybody have any?
You tell me a little bit about yourself and your company?
Sure.
I'm not familiar.
Well, I've been in the oil industry for quite a while. I started with Conoco Petroleum in 1982. worked in the refined product side, moved out to Salt Lake in 2004 and got into the asphalt side. Conoco had several asphalt plants that supported the refineries. They then sold them, and I stayed in Salt Lake, and eventually me and a couple of partners built our own asphalt company in just out of Salt Lake. So we're a supplier. We buy liquid asphalt from refineries, store it, modify it, and ship it out to state and federal highway jobs, typically. In that role, I'm in charge of running the operations of the plant. A couple of years ago, we identified that there's 4 suppliers in Salt Lake City that supply asphalt binder, and 1 in Las Vegas. So we thought this would be an opportunity to serve a similar size market with only 1 supplier. So we began building an asphalt plant down here close to a year ago, and we've still under construction, but we've started shipping base asphalt and some polymer modified asphalt, and we'll finish up construction later this year and have the emulsion plant.
Finishing up construction on your plant?
Yeah, we still have the emulsion plant to finish building.
Where's your plant at?
It's in North Las Vegas. Currently, we've got a little over 12 million gallons of storage. So we'll buy asphalt from any refiner that
Gotcha.
has a good quality material. We'll store it, modify it, and test it and ship it.
Gotcha.
So
Well, it's been a hot topic of conversation in my world, and I've gone from knowing absolutely nothing to now being at least understanding some of the terminology. But
Sure.
yeah, we had the push about 2 weeks ago to use the PG 6422
yeah.
on some arterials. So I didn't get a chance to talk to Michael, but I know it's definitely a hot topic, and we'd like to learn more. I think the final outcome was no 6422 on arterials, just to maybe
Yeah.
provide some feedback, so.
Okay. And that's fine. My recommendation isn't that, that there's
Which
any,
one?
any change in specs. I'd like you to consider changing them. If it were me, I would consider changing it. And the reason I would do that and say that as a supplier is I would like for you guys to have a higher standard for us to meet. Right now, honestly, there's a lot of product that we could buy that would meet an AC30 that wouldn't be a performance-graded material, that you could, would have a poor quality, wouldn't have the temperature spread, wouldn't modify, and, there's very few places that still use the AC specs, so that, there's people looking to sell material into that market that are not as good quality. And certainly, we want to be on a level playing field and everybody have a higher standard that we have to meet.
So I was approached probably 9 months to a year ago by the county. The premise was, not you,
Oh, okay.
Robert, you're clear.
Okay.
With the premise that if we all got in cahoots, for the lack of a better word, and went to PG 7622, basically, and some of this is maybe misunderstanding, it's PG oil, and now I'm learning that it's the testing, and so it is a different oil, but with modified is what I understood him to say, that the cost could come down, because then the storage of both the AC30 and the PG 7622, it would be more available, and we could basically get that better product for the same price. I don't think we pursued it. I think we kind of are talking about it.
Yeah. It's a possibility. My recommendation would be that you need to test, you need good standards first. You need to hold up a high standard for the binder to meet and for the mix to meet. But, I don't know that you need a 7622 in a parking lot or a cul-de-sac. It may be a little overkill. I'm just talking about binder, but if you look at the mix design and the road design portions of the SHARP program, They have processes there to consider the traffic load and select the binder and select the type of mix needed for that type of road. I would fall short of saying that the quality of material that's put on I-15 needs to be put on a subdivision street, and I don't know that the price would level out like that.
And we did approve the 6422 for use in residential, so that we're on the same page.
Yeah, I just think, at least with the PG graded, you're testing the entire range of the asphalt. You're not just testing the viscosity of it.
Gotcha.
So, the performance grade to me is important because it does just what it says. It grades it based on the performance of the binder. So theoretically, you could use an asphalt that didn't have good elastic properties, wasn't sticky, didn't hold together well, but if it was the right viscosity, it meets AC30.
Right.
So that's a pretty low bar to meet. So.
Mario Gomez with NDOT. Would you guys ever consider going to 7622, and what would be the reasons, I guess, for doing that?
Well, actually, right now, Clark County does use that, all its contracts. It now in specification has it for all of Clark County, everywhere, okay? Developers screamed about that, so we backed off, and we only have it going in intersection areas minus 200 foot for S76 minus 22. So we're all for 76 minus 22 everywhere because it'll be easier, okay? But we'd like to have modified anything. If 64, we would like to have it modified. I think AC30 is a 70 minus 16. We'd like to have it modified or push it out as well because it'll a lot better than just neat. So there's different things you can do here, and we went 64 because it's a start. We got it in town, we can do it. We didn't have 64 before, easy to get in town. So, so residential is a good place to start. One thing you have to be careful though is that recycle actually stiffens it up again. But to go from AC30, quote unquote, down to a PG 64 minus 22, you still head in the right direction to be softer. And for residential, that's nice. We want softer materials for residentials. But anyway, we're already doing it on a contract.
And we did the same thing on Sunset recently, is we change ordered at Sunset and Marks to go with the PG, and we're gonna do the same thing at Sunset and Stephanie to go with the 76 because of the rutting we've been seeing.
Yeah.
And so our hope is that we'll see the benefit of that.
And PG isn't just modified asphalt, so in that chart, it comes from the refineries basically as a performance graded asphalt. There's very few refineries that, if they can sell it as performance graded, they do. If it's bad quality, they can sell it as AC still. So the performance graded doesn't mean it's modified. So
Understood.
Yeah, so it's 6422 and it's quite a leap to go to 7622 NB, because it's basically an 8222. So, there's steps between that from 64 to 70 to 76. So it gives you the ability to...
Our mechanism is what we've put on the IQAC, and that's the
Clark County.
The Clark County 7622 is on there, so that's what we were going on.
Okay.
Well, I had a question, so I apologize for, the only thing I know about pavement is it's black and it cracks, so I apologize for being,
Correct.
ignorant on the subject. But, so what's the current state of our specs now? It sounds like you guys have approved individually the performance grade specification, but it's not in the blue book? You guys are doing it on a case-by-case basis?
What it is, the last time we had discussed this years ago, I wanted it everywhere, okay? And it was not agreeable to all agencies, so everyone else uses AC30. Las Vegas uses 7622. I'm not sure if everywhere or...
We use it on all the CIPs,
Yeah.
but we still allow it, for the developers, we still allow AC30 because they haul our...
Right, yeah.
And that's where I think if we all got on board and we all said use the performance grade, then it would actually, the price would come down and they might actually be more, even the developers might be more agreeable for it. And that's really the thing that's driving it right now is the developers.
Exactly right.
But the price of the you know, developers, what, 80% of developers' roads are residential, you know, they'll have some
Right.
offsites. The
Right.
6422 is going for the same price as the AC 30,
Right, right.
because it's actually, and this is where I'm with JP, I know that it's black and cracks, but it's actually more of an AC 20 oil.
64 is, yeah.
Help me out,
Yeah.
I'll probably look
It's-
stupid here in a second, but.
It's kind of a hybrid between the two.
It's more AC20, yeah.
So for us to sell AC 30, we'll have to take our 6422 and make it a little bit harder. So the viscosity is about 120 points low. So forgot what the spec was there. It's somewhere 2,400 to 3,600 viscosity on that 142, and we're at 22 something. So it's almost a AC 30, but
So the PG 6422 would fail the AC 30 test because of the viscosity test?
yes.
So, okay,
So we would blend some hard material with it,
to bring the viscosity up.
bring the viscosity up, yeah.
So some of the tests you run, and Michael can help me here, but we took a risk a week ago, and we, for you guys, is what I understand, put down the 6422 on Center Street, and so that you guys could put 300 tons, well, paving put 300 tons down, and so that they could get all the testing done. We're still waiting on rut testing, and we're looking to see how that came back. But some of the testing's actually worse than AC 30, you know, as far as the strength. And those tests themselves, Michael could probably rattle them off, which tests they are, but, so,
Josh Mendenhall, Las Vegas Paving. Actually, the stabilities, I mean, they're a little bit lower than AC.
a little bit,
now. I'm at
but they
Texas,
passed the spec.
But they still pass the specification.
Correct.
So it is still stable and everything. In our rut test, 8,000 cycles came back actually very positive. We're still waiting on 20,000 cycle rut.
Yeah,
on the test page. And we.
I was just
do
texting, I haven't
appreciate
seen that, I haven't seen that rut test information back,
And
but,
we appreciate the opportunity to, you know, perform the type 2C 6422 on the street and actually put it down and get some good test data on it. So from that perspective, we feel our results are positive. We're just looking at it from a production standpoint and the fact that specifications that we get on various jobs, whether we're bidding them as a supplier only or as paving them ourselves, we are starting to see a lot of specifications for PG oils to be spec'd out in developments, which is fine. The only problem is they always divert back to, you know, they always have their specification for whether it's a 5828, a 6422. RTC actually just has, we're paving a lot for them now that has spec'd out 6422 in the specifications. So we're starting to see this trend to go to all PG oils, which is great. Not saying, like Gene said, you don't have to go to a 7622 on a high expensive product, but there is specifications that are being released on jobs that are specifying PG, lower grade PG oils, and we're trying to supply that. We send in our mix design that are IQAC mix designs. They say, no, this doesn't meet the specification. We say, well, we can't get the product. So we're trying to get new products, but, you know, new, just different mix designs on there, whether it be 6422 that they can review as an option and say, yes, Clark County has looked at it, they've approved it, therefore we can accept the specification change and utilize that product. So we're just seeing it all over. Whether it's parking lots for Costco, whether it's residential developments that have specs on them now and things like
But
that.
it's at odds with what's currently in the Blue Book. Not at odds.
It's not at odds. It's just set there, we're just saying, look, we have these mixed designs that are IQAC approved.
Okay.
These are the only ones that are approved. It's only AC 30 or 7622. They're saying, well, we don't want 7622. We don't really like the AC 30, but if that's the better, cheaper option, we'll go with that. Where we're saying, look, we can provide a performance graded asphalt mixed design that will in turn give you a better product and better long-term results. But they always divert back to the IQAC list and say, well, it's not approved by the local entity. And so they get into that bind and then they're forced to accept the AC 30.
but we have representatives from ICLAC here, obviously.
No, yeah. And we have mixed designs of the 6422 that have been submitted, and some of the half-inch ones have been accepted, and they are accepted for Clark County use only. And so I guess that would be my petition is to the other entities that are out there, is if Clark County can accept them. Right now, they're labeled Clark County use only. My petition would be for the other entities to look at those mixed designs and determine if they're acceptable within their jurisdiction.
Anderson is also using it for residential, I mean, just as of last week when we
Yeah.
were talking about it, so we allowed it in Sunrise Trailer Estates, so that's what went down.
Well, my goal is to make sure that the RTC specifications are not in any way hindering the conversation.
No, they're
Yeah.
not, they're not hindering the conversation.
Or
Yeah.
take it a step further,
Yeah.
actually helping to
Right.
get the better product on the streets.
And the, what is it, the IMVF parking lot that is currently being constructed, that was spec'd out as 6422 in the specifications,
Okay.
which is great. You know,
And probably a proper use.
And probably a proper use for it, exactly. And like Gene was saying is, look at the application and determine what's gonna be the best, design or best mix for that application.
So, question I have is, if an engineer specs out a specific product, and it's not on the ICLAC, they still have the ability to be able to use it, don't they?
Yeah, each agency can do their own mix design, there's no problem where IQAC goes. IQAC's only about for convenience, it's all for.
Right, it was only, that was my impression. So anybody can specify, if I'm an engineer and I want a specific product, I can specify. Where people say it's not on the ICLAC is for the convenience, for the testing part of
It's
it.
the technical knowledge of city staffers, like JP just, I mean, even myself, I spent the past 2 weeks trying to figure out that asphalt just ain't black and cracks. I mean, it was still confusing to me. I'm still getting there, and so my staff doesn't know that either, so if they are able to.
It's a living organism.
Well, if they can depend on Michael Dunning's knowledge and use his testing and feel comfortable that we're making the right call by IQAC, that's the way we want to go. Otherwise, it takes a heck of a lot of work to get that comfort level. And indirectly, Josh and I talked through his project manager last week when we decided 6422 wasn't the right application for Center Street because of the loading, because of the buses, because of that kind of stuff. So, and that took me 2 weeks to. We did a lot of work. Sagan's working on it. We're calling the county. We're calling NDOT. I talked to Dennis.
Darren Tedford?
Darren helped me a lot. I mean, that's all they use up north, but, so anyway, that's why. We don't have that expertise to individual in every project make that call on what pavement to use. It's very limited in the valley, in my opinion.
And also, and referring to that comment is, you've got possibly an out-of-state engineer that's writing the spec, and then, you have that to deal with, and you just probably cutting and pasting, to be honest with you, putting it in there, not putting it in the application, but it's what they have. And for a lot of these developers, they have a set spec of what they want on all their, whether it's Amazon out in North Las Vegas, whether it's Costco out in Henderson, they have their set specification of what they want. And we see those specifications come across our desk and go, okay, we want to meet that specification. However, they always defer, like I said, back to the local and say, well, this is what locally they accept, so that's what we'll have to look at accepting.
I think it comes down to, you got bread and butter mixes and IQAC, and you have specialized mixes. Everything's acceptable to the agency, whatever they want to buy. One of the problems with the IQAC, even though it's convenient for inspectors. So if you have a individual specialized material and only one agency uses, it won't get posted. And so then the inspector in the field says, well, I can't have you put it down on the ground here because it's not on an IQAC list. Well, it's approved, but he doesn't know it, okay? Because no one told him, well, by the way, we got this design for you to put down. That's one of the downsides of that, but I guess you can do it, yeah.
So what is the way forward? What can the RTC do to help move this forward? It would be nice, I think, just in general, I mean, if we could get something prepared and to this committee, then it could go out for industry review, and then we could get actual comments back on the, in the record, and, start the conversation to, get things lined up.
Okay.
But I don't know how to start that conversation.
Well, I think the first step, I think she'd be able to recognize in RTC specs, you have the PG grade system, not AC. So you have that, and you have the PG 64 for your residentials, for instance.
Mhm.
Right now you have AC 30, well, just change it to the real name, 70-16. And they shoot for 70-16 for...
Okay, that's a good start.
Okay? Next step is 76-22. which is
Replace,
material.
find, replace all.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, we can handle that.
But it has 3 different grades we can look at here that can be applied across the valley. 76-22 is a modified material. So there's different things we could do there in spec, and half the spec is already written that way right now anyway. Just make it official. No more AC 30, and 70-16. And that can be brought to town just as that performance grade.
And then we need to come to a consensus on, based on use, right? On what roads we're gonna use it on. That was my big struggle, is
Yeah.
you have bus loading. If you have that kind of loading, what's gonna hold up? And then again, if you have a residential street, you want that softer pavement that's not gonna crack up, and you don't have the loading. And so that kind of guidance from the group on which one to use and where is...
That information exists. It's a matter of, I can help with that too. Right now, we already have in our RTC about loading, what kind of traffic for easels, et cetera, for what
Yeah.
kind of thickness of roads and width, everything. Just kind of take massage again in 401, what that look like with PG grading for mixed designs. That can all, the new specs at M322.
Yeah.
Okay, it also talks about the heavy versus light traffic, what you use it for. So there are ways to get that done right now. It's a matter of sitting down and working through it. And if you want, I can take a look at it and just what that looks like for us to take a look at here. It won't be an overnight thing. We all have to get acclimated here
Yeah.
as well, talking the same language. Yeah.
And there is one more variable, after the performance grade, RAP has been introduced in the paving in the last 15 years. And if you extract the asphalt from RAP, it's double or triple the thickness. So if you would have made the streets 20 years ago with a 64-22 and you pull it out, it's going to be a 140 grade. So in most places, they recognize that and they do a grade bump down when they use RAP. NDOT limits the RAP so that they don't have to do a grade bump, but that if they go over 15% RAP, then they bump the grade down. UDOT does the same thing. They allow up to 25% RAP, and then they grade bump. So they'll go from a 70-28 down to a 64-22. Wrong way. But anyway, so that's why we recommended it for small streets with RAP, a thinner product, so it will be more flexible.
I guess one thing to consider also is if you're using AC as your major component for your mix designs, once you jump into the PG realm, what's on your pavement preservation, the money that you spend up front, how many more years is that gonna get out of your pavement structure? So that's the way we've been looking at, for NDOT. So.
Do you have actual testing on that? I know that's been
I
the
certainly would do.
perception.
That's well known across the
Mike
country.
actually
We
has
have
a
plenty of
bunch of
testing on
that.
it, yeah.
Good.
So that may be the value to you guys, that at some point, it's,
Well,
you're
and-
spending the money up front, but it'll give you that much more life.
Well, like I said, the 6422, I was getting for the same price. And
Ooh, yeah.
the intent was if they didn't have to juggle oil, because when somebody said you needed PG, you had to make sure you had a tank that was open so they could get the PG. And if you didn't have to juggle oil and had the one thing, that price would come down as well, was our theory 9 months ago. And so that even the modified polymer, if you're not juggling AC and PG, it could come down in price from what it is today.
The big increase was the
So-
modified PG.
Yeah, the NDOT 7622 is a highly modified product.
Yeah. And it's got a shelf life, by the way, so it's kind of the downside to that you have to use it with a certain time after you add the polymers and everything else, otherwise it starts falling apart on you.
Okay, so the way forward, the simplest thing to do would be to bring back a modification, changing the AC 32 PG what?
70-16.
76, what?
70 minus 16.
70.
Right here.
70.
70
76.
minus.
Oh, that one. Got it. Got it.
So now, do we need a motion, or is this just direction to staff to do something?
Okay, there's one caveat here, guys. Just now thought of it, Laughlin, okay? We thought we got rid of Laughlin a few years ago with the city didn't want to become incorporated. We turned it down, so we're still stuck with them. Oh, no, I didn't say that.
We level up.
Yeah, we love Laughlin.
You're still proud to service them?
I'm proud of service them, yes. The point is the roads down there, we're trying to, they were going to use Bullhead City, Arizona mix signs down there, it's easier down there. They use a 70-10. Now their mix designs we're having redoing right now, they aren't done with RTC right now. But the point is this, is you have 70-10 down there, Laughlin, we have to mention it. Although 70-16 is fine as well, but across the river, all they use is 70-10. So I'll address that too, if you want me to help with this whole thing.
Yeah,
I'll address that
absolutely.
as well. How we're gonna, maybe it just says right there, Laughlin, 70-10, and just leave it that way.
Yeah.
That's just because that's what's available.
That's what's available down there.
And that, I guess that's not really going to be controversial, making that change, but it would still be something that comes back to the committee for review, which would then go out to IR, so we can get home builders to chime in on it, suppliers, contractors to chime in on it,
Right.
and that could start the larger conversation.
Right.
As far as where to use what, the easels, I know there are standards based on roadway classification that can be modified, based on local understanding of, what kind of traffic mix is out there. But that's a separate conversation, at least in my mind, that's a separate conversation that doesn't really involve necessarily the specifications, although you say that there are guidelines already in the specs that have the easels defined for
Yeah, there
certain
are,
classifications
for
of
other
roads.
reasons, yeah, there are, yeah. So I think it'd be good to better define that. Anyway, it's old language you're using right now, so it'd be good even to revise all that and.
Okay, so that's what sounds to me like a separate agenda item,
Well-
separate endeavor.
Well, it's all part of the
It's
effort.
all the same, it's design, overall.
Well, just as far as they're going to come before the committee.
Yeah.
Right.
And see, and one thing is part of that, I don't think we need, for us smaller towns, we can't just say collector is this, residential this, arterial is this, because we might have a 90-foot
Right,
right-of-way that's
right.
really just a
That's a problem.
residential street.
Oh, yeah, no, I
We
get
do have
it,
some of those, so.
for sure.
Then we have residential, they actually have a carry truck traffic, so it's kind of a minor collector. So it's one of the problems, is that you have to actually, we can define, in fact, right now it's defined by easels, but somebody has to tell the inspector or developer, or permit guys, oh, by the way, this one requires that mix design. Well, who's going to do that out in the field to the contractor? Oh, don't put it there, put it over here. That's the problem with the specifying that way. There's no way to tell our plan and development side to make it happen that way. So trying to think through that process.
Crayon and a map, maybe?
Yes, probably so. It may come down engineering, it may come back to road width because that's the first step. And then, I don't know. That's what somebody got to talk about. And maybe you're right, maybe it's going to require a second discussion, because first is get the PG aspect
Yeah.
done first, and then let's look at the application secondly.
Yeah, because one of the things that, that we want to do, and it's been on our list for a while, and we've actually made some strides, is for projects that the RTC has funded to develop essentially a pavement age map. So we know, in gross giant block terms, how old the pavement is on projects that we have funded. So we could create essentially a universal map of the valley, to help us with the no-cut street policy, but really just as a way to, you can't manage what you don't measure. So by getting a handle on what's out there, and then immediately the next question was, well, okay, how old it is a wonderful thing to know, but what it is even a more important thing. So, we are going to go through with that just for our own benefit.
Most entities have that information available, so I would assume.
Right, but we don't necessarily want to bug the agencies on,
Too late.
and, well, we bug you all the time, Len. That's because you're so damn good. You always come through for us, so. You rely on the people that can get it done. So anyway, just to let the committee know that that's happening internally, and we will be reaching out for the information where we need it. So Okay, so what I'm hearing is, just to summarize, I don't think we need a motion if I get it right.
Hold on one second, JP.
Yeah, please.
Michael, when you do it, are you gonna touch pavement thicknesses? I kinda heard when we change that for light traffic, heavy traffic right away, and we redo that, one issue we've been dealing with is minimum pavement for a 3/4 inch mix.
Yeah.
So we've, years and years, been trying to crush rock and do a 2-inch minimum lift. And so we in Henderson have gone to a 2.5 inch regardless. We don't, if 3/4 inch rock, you gotta do 2.5 inch minimum, which then starts getting you away from a 4-inch section, because we don't want to do 1 4-inch because the ride quality sucks. So we want to lead towards a minimum for arterials and stuff, a minimum 5-inch section, so you can do 2.5 inch lifts. I don't know if that can be incorporated. If you're changing pavement thicknesses on that table, that does have some
No,
4-inch sections and
We're not
stuff.
going there. I think the best
Okay.
thing to do right now, you get really deep in the whole thing.
Understood.
I think the first thing is go for the oil, get that thing figured out and done right. Then the next step is now where you actually put that oil. Mix designs is the next step, and then you get more and more thick in the conversation because it's very, it gets.
So we'll take care of it then.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Well, this is an action item, so let me summarize, and then you could take it as a motion if you'd like. The RTC is going to bring back to the committee a modification of the existing specifications relative to AC 30, changing that to PG 70 minus 16. That's the first step, so we can leave it at that, and then we can initiate it. We can go from there.
Yeah.
So do I have a motion?
Make a
That's
motion-
staff's recommendation, let's say it that way.
Make a motion that we change the RTC specifications to AC 30 is now 70 minus 16, PG 70 minus 16.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, and we'll bring that back, and then that will start the industry review, and so everybody gets to chime in on that.
I'm trying to
Take
figure
from
out
there.
if it's even.
Thank you very much, Gene.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Another question now on this?
Yeah. Well, that's all.
Another question on that?
I didn't bring it up, but we didn't,
Another question
when we get into like where it goes, we're gonna talk about.
No, I'm sorry.
Just changing for a while.
on that question.
Because we care about
Change
traffic.
it, change the AC to a PG, okay?
We were looking for one.
And so that means everything on
For,
RTC spec would change over.
Something else.
So everybody across the valley,
Hard.
you should put in, 70 by 16, basically, all producers will know, suppliers, they, okay, now we're going to ship in 70 by 16, knowing that, in fact, can be used for AC 30. We have to be unaware of that they got to change their mix designs over, okay? The same suppliers will come in with new product, they have to change design, says that, 70 by 16. Because they have to redesign because the 70 by 16 may not perform the same as AC 30. Just be aware of that, too.
Well, that'll all come out when we...
Well, I'm bringing it up now because it may not be that straightforward to,
Well, when that item comes to the committee, the recommendation is going to be to hold it for industry review.
right.
So during that industry review, then there's a formal conduit for you to make those comments that,
Okay.
hey, be aware, folks, that these are some of the ramifications. It's more than just find, replace,
Right.
done.
Okay.
So but then that will come, as a part of industry review, that will get on the record, and then we can...
And anything that's on there approved now can phase out. It'll last a year or whatever, and then they'll have to do a new mix design.
Though actually, what will happen is that when it gets approved here, is that the suppliers, it'll be law, okay? By the way, we don't have AC 30 anymore, okay? They can supply it, they probably won't, because now you got 70 by 16. They'll start supplying 70 by 16, well, they're going to have to then to submit it for a mix design because it's different, it'll act differently. So they may not wait till the end of the year to get it done, they may start right now, ship it in.
So we could have a phase-out period where their old AC 30 mix designs
If
are
they
good
want
for
to.
6 months, or if they want to,
Yeah,
or they can
want to,
switch
yeah.
over, yeah.
Yeah.
It's April now, so we're going to meet again June. So
Unless you want me
then
to-
IR, and now we're talking June, July, so now we're August. So the soonest it could be approved would be August.
Let's say if we met next month, would be, can it be approved by July?
No. Probably not.
All right.
I mean, theoretically it could, yeah, but it wouldn't get
Well, it's
booked.
review, yeah.
Yeah, because that's going to go to EAC, and then it's going to go, so we're talking in the fall, really, the earliest this could actually get done.
Okay.
So the phase-out period, I mean, they're going to hear about it as soon as the IR goes out. So the phase-out period is going to be between April, May, June, and when it gets, when it finally comes to you in approvable form, which would be October, maybe?
Is when the specifications will be revised.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we were
Probably
to
October.
actually move up next month to get this thing going, would it make a difference as far as even before fall starts hitting?
Is there a benefit to have it?
Well, to get the thing kicked off and going, I don't want a year.
Before it's
okay?
cold.
Just because you only, this is we want PG grading.
Well,
okay,
yeah, I
so-
mean, it would have,
Well, can I ask a question? Is it in 401?
No, not 70/16's not, no.
No, what section is it in?
It's 401.
401.
But I'm saying though, it's not here right now.
No, I know.
Okay, all right.
But what I'm saying is, the only way I potentially could see speeding it up is we put a hold on item 5 to add it to it, because we already got the process going to review section 401 for the TAC code.
Okay.
So,
yeah, but it's a different item.
Okay.
It's a different issue.
I-
so.
Asphalt.
Yeah. It's blackened and cracked.
Back in this guy, as far as you know, it's all the same, brother.
that's all everybody believes.
So, anyway, I think we'll look at it. There might be a way to combine steps or something to get it going a little faster. And it's going to be dependent upon IR. If IR comes back as a snoozer, then boom, you could approve it the next meeting. In fact, theoretically, you could approve it that meeting, which is exactly what we're going to do on item 5, hopefully.
Right.
So,
Well, what's it gonna do, what's it doing to the cost?
There'd be no cost change.
You see, that's the difference. If
For
it
the
goes,
residential, it's no cost change. For their arterials, it would be an increased cost from AC 30. That's my humble opinion.
No, hey, hang on a second. We might not think the same language. 76/22 is increased cost. That's our arterials, okay?
Right.
70/16 is like AC 30, so the cost be basically none difference. And 64/22 is the same or less cost right now.
Right.
So we're not talking about doing 76/22 yet as far as modification, because that's the contest for IR, is the money increase on that one. So it's kind of like we're going to apply, just forget about it right now, let's go to 70/16, get that one, now we've got full PGs going across here.
Right.
Then we start attacking where to put everything at, and that'd be the next step, and that's where the contest.
so the real heavy lift is coming next spring.
Yeah.
yeah, so we're not trying to revise to use a more expensive product on
No.
materials at this point.
No.
All we're trying to do is go from AC 30 type of specification
Right.
to a PG
PG,
specification.
yes, right.
Yeah, so there should be no cost ramification, so in that sense, it should go relatively quickly.
Yeah, right. Right.
The only place they would have an increased cost is their arterial adjacent to the residential neighborhood,
Why?
because you're not gonna put 6422 out there on that arterial.
No, but let's talk the same language here,
Right.
okay? 64 minus.
Good luck.
64 minus.
I know.
64 minus 22 is for residential. Well, read that
Absolutely.
one, okay. Minor collectors of the area like that, in fact, everything across the valley right now is AC 30.
Right.
In fact, which is.
Even residential?
Everything's
Yes.
AC 30.
Everything's
Okay?
AC 30.
Right.
So now, we're going to change the name to PG 70/16.
Right.
It's a little different than AC 30, but it's close enough. So right now, you couldn't, in effect, say everything across the valley is going to be 70/16. It's the same thing as AC 30. That's one thing. But on top of that, we said, well, by the way, we have 64. Let's go put that in residential. It's a little softer. Great. Now we have 64 and we have 70. Okay? That's all we have. Okay? Now, the 70 will be put right now in arterials is what they have right now.
And that'll be equal to what we have today?
Yes, right, exactly. So then the other thing is that we want in the future is to put 76 on arterials. That's the big step, but right
Yeah,
now.
the big
first
step is
two
to
steps-
increase the arterial
First two
cost.
steps are okay. Right now, the big stuff is we want 70 there, we want 76. That's the one's gonna take more money.
But if right now you're telling me that all across the valley, everything is AC 30.
Yes.
We're gonna make it 70 minus 16.
Right.
But you guys individually are allowing them to go to a 64-22 for residential.
Yes.
Because that's not in the Blue Book right now.
No.
But it's
Oh, well,
IQAC
no, you're right.
approved.
But it's, that's neither here nor there. That's something that they work through the agency. The Blue Book clearly states that every street should be 70 minus 16 if we make that change.
Yes.
Yep.
Right, now, is it worth adding in the difference at this point to make everything 70 minus 16 and residential streets can be 64-22?
Well, that's what we're going to do right now.
Except that wasn't the motion.
Oh.
No, I know that.
You're
That's
right.
why- That's why we're hashing out, because
Well, okay, I see what you're saying. Right now, we just said AC 30, 70, 60, which is what it is right now. You're, good point. We didn't motion about 64. Good point. We did not do that. Well, who's the one put the, who put the motion out there?
You let the gentleman get the
These are the recommendations.
let the black and the crack.
These are wrong recommendations.
Exactly. You know, you guys can step up at any time and do your own thing. I'll be
Yeah.
perfectly fine with
There was
that.
something, when he said there's something, something missing, what he said here, I can't remember what it was now. Okay, can I make a
Well, it can be
motion now?
fixed. We'll bring back what you guys said, and then at the meeting, you add it.
Yeah.
And then that goes out for IR.
Okay.
No problem.
and then we'll do what we can to push it through, because,
Just don't forget.
yeah, well, plus I'm meeting with the home builders, what do we meet, next week? Yeah, so we meet next week at the home builders, so I'll give them the heads up on what's happening.
Okay, talk about 76 as well, would you?
Well, I won't do that yet.
I already did that one time before.
Yeah, that'll be a different IR.
I tell you what, I got that, my burn in that one too.
Right, but at least I will let them know what's coming ahead.
Right.
So that right now, the motion isn't that way, however, we probably will add it during the comment period, and this for, we're trying to get this adopted as soon as we can through this process.
Okay, back up a second. You say it takes a separate IR for 64? Or can we do-
Well, no, it wouldn't. If you added it to the item, then they would go together.
Right.
And the comments that came back would be for both changes.
Okay, so,
But the way it stands now is, what I'm bringing forward to you is just the name
Yeah.
change. And then we can be directed by the committee, thank you very much, RTC, also add this.
Now, can we do that at the final call to the public at this meeting?
Pardon me?
Can we do that at the final call to the public at this meeting?
I wouldn't think so.
We'll probably, because it's basically a comment to what we were directed to do, to give you a draft specification.
okay.
You're gonna take that draft specification and say, oh, by the way, while we're doing this, let's add this. Boom, that comment comes back, we send it out, reviewed, done.
Okay.
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 Michael, what about the issue with track out? I mean, I know we're not talking about, this is a whole different issue, but for arterials is an issue. and
Yeah.
We have, I think everybody has a problem with track out for striping, bike lanes and intersections, it's all, intersections especially, and we're not talking about residential, but we even looked at like AC 40 or something higher, or something, not maybe AC 40, but even higher temperature oil for that, and you've looked into that a little bit too, but does that play in here at all, when we start looking at what's approved, or maybe that's just something we do individually at our individual agencies?
I think track out is a tough subject, as you know. And
I know,
one thing we do know is the harder the oil, the less tracking,
yeah.
okay? So if you approach a rock, it's not going to track. The problem with rocks, they crack. So you have to choose, you want to have cracking, or you want to have no tracking? And right now, with this terminal right here, you already have AC 30 now, so going to PG 70 minus 16 is not going to change the tracking issue.
No.
okay? 64 will track more because it's softer.
Yeah,
Right.
So it's a matter of again, I prefer to have less cracking, a more malleable material, and I personally believe we're not ever going to get rid of tracking altogether anyway.
But it's in residential without
You're
bike
right,
lanes,
and have the, yes, you're right.
everything else,
Yeah,
so.
so it's
Yeah,
different.
the concerns are more, or like, our concerns are
Yeah.
more for like downtown
Yeah.
and areas where have a lot of, where there's, with more, this the arterials.
So you go with the polymer modified, and there should be less,
No, it's not, that's one of the problems.
Oh, really? It tracks?
It actually, in high heat, it kind of separates, the light ends, the light oil, then goes on top of the material, and then you track it over the stripes. It's one of, that's my theory, okay, I'm sticking with it.
You know more than any of us here,
And
so,
so it's, anyway, like, you tried AC 40.
especially more than JP.
Do you try, you try the AC 40 on your downtown at all? Did it work?
We have one, we're gonna try it on on our next project on Gas Avenue, so we'll
Okay.
see. And we expect everybody to kind of see, this looks like crap, but, I think it'll be fine. And it's gonna, because it's more gray, it's not, it doesn't look like black asphalt. But it's because we basically looked at what you did on DI.
Yeah.
And it didn't track out like the other stuff.
Yeah,
And
right.
it looks like it's old asphalt, but it's not, and it drives fine.
Yeah.
So we're looking into it now. That's a whole other, if we go AC40 and everything, we're gonna have to kind of go back and do like 70, not 76, or even, when I talked to Josh before about it, they even said even better would be like or something else, like a PG84 or something that might be good for track out. But, so we're looking into, we have AC40, we're going to put it on a couple projects downtown and see how it goes. That's what we're trying, we're putting it as a standard, knowing that it's going to cost a lot, and then we're going to see how it goes. So
Mr. Chairman, if I may. So on that note, I think that's the perfect time to us to start evaluating, really, what does it take to maintain the roadway? Right, because I agree with you, you want to have it better so it's not cracking, right? So you don't want it to be able to track, but it's going to crack faster, right? So we really need to do a better evaluation of what's more expensive,
Yeah.
to replace the asphalt, or just to go back in and stripe it every couple of years?
Striping, yeah.
I'd rather you come back in and stripe it every couple of years and have the pavement staying in place much longer.
Yeah.
Right, so-
Which is exactly right, but the standard operating procedure is let the pavement markings go until you come back and replace the road.
Right.
So that's a mindset that's got to change.
Right. And it also depends on what we got, like, and there's other things like downtown, we have all these green bike lanes and thermoplastic that's expensive. So we have intersections that are just $7 to $10 a square foot for these, so it's a whole other issue we got, and so the track up becomes even bigger deal, that we have our maintenance guys out there, cleaning striping, on a rotation on downtown, all the downtown stuff is spend a lot of money cleaning striping. So and we don't know, but we still don't know if that's what the break point.
Sounds like a great job for a management analyst.
Yeah.
Put them in their cube, give them an assignment, and have them give you an answer in 6 months.
Okay, you guys have those, right? We don't have any management analysts.
Yes, you do.
We're busy trying to get RTC money.
Take control of this meeting.
We move on to item number 4, that the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada Specification Subcommittee approve revisions to drawing 501, typical underground utility locations in residential streets with 60 feet or less right-of-way, and number 501.1, typical underground utility locations in streets with greater than 60 feet right-of-way of the Uniform Standard Drawing to dimension utility locations off the center line.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This one has a long history. It was brought up during the topics of interest section at the Regional Project Coordination Committee. What we would like to do is hold it for industry review, but Mr. Damiani can give you a little additional background on it, if you'd like.
So, Mr. Chairman, the history behind this is basically, if we were to revise all the dimensions off of the center line, then when new roads get put in and the right-of-ways, the curb lines get adjusted, we don't wind up having water under curb, is really what it's been boiling down to. So you think, as the streets are larger, if you measure it off the center line, the water line's going to be out closer to the center line. So if you move the curb in, we wouldn't have issues of having to relocate some of those other utilities. See, if we constantly keep putting it 7 feet off the curb, and we move that curb line in 7 feet, now we have a problem. So it's just, in some streets it doesn't matter, but it was just a request to start building utilities off the center line rather than off the right-of-way line.
So my question, I haven't looked at it, but has anybody looked at my biggest pet peeve of wheel paths and all these utilities? People should be designing storm drains, water valves, so they're not sitting right in the middle of a wheel path. they should be center of the lane. So I don't know, 5 foot off the center line of this road is probably right in the wheel path. So I'd have all my storm drain manholes and my sewer manholes right in the middle of a wheel path. So I don't like that dimension based on my preliminary look at it.
Well, they end up there
We would
anyway.
encourage all your recommendations.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
It's actually really annoying when we are doing some of these city, what do they call them, street?
Diets.
Diets.
Road diet, well, I was just gonna say that, well, you lay it out however you want to, and then do a road diet, and all your.
They're all screwed up.
It's all messed up anyway.
So, I like your idea of not putting it under there, but I think somebody should go through here because
Point
it's a
taken.
constant, all of Sunset now, you're dun, 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 all the way down. And I'm
well, I can tell you that the comment was made by the traffic department to move the damn things, but by that time it was too late.
well, you can't.
Well, and referencing off of,
It has to be designed that way. And it's not hard for,
And I think this is a great solution, if you design it off the center line, your lanes are there, but I
And if it
think
has to be-
somebody,
and if it has to be 7.5 feet,
but I don't think that 5 foot's the right number.
right, whatever that number is, I don't know, but you're right, it's a valid point.
referencing off the center line's gonna be better than the curve, though, in the long run, because at least the lanes aren't gonna move around too much.
Shouldn't unless you got a chicken lane in the center, and then maybe that doesn't matter anyway, or median, anyway, I like it, but I just think somebody needs to go through and engineer that, not, I don't think 5 foot's the right number.
okay.
Absolutely.
So,
But this goes out for IR from here.
yeah, and everyone will have an opportunity to chime in. The 5 feet is what was suggested. We're not married to that, obviously. We agree completely with the representative from the city of Henderson that the goal is to keep these things out of the wheel path. And if that leads to a different number than 5, then we're totally fine with that. So staff's recommendation would be to hold for industry review. Bring it back at the next meeting.
Any more comments or questions?
I have to vote on that, do we have to make a motion?
Yes.
Want me to-
Would you like-
Motion to hold this item per staff's recommendations.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 5. That the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada Specification Subcommittee approve a revision to section 401.03.06.d, preparation of existing surface to require the use of tack coat between courses regardless of time between placement.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. This is an item that came to you previously, thanks to our friends at the Clark County Public Works Department. We were directed to send it out to industry review. We received one comment back, which is in your backup. We have addressed that comment, and the item is ready for your approval, and that would be staff's recommendation.
Any comments or questions?
Just can you explain it for those of us that might not remember the background real quick?
Okay, right now, that blue book says that you can put the second lift on the pavement without tack coat if you did the same day. And by literature, I review various locations across for years, is that at first it was a wash. Is it better or worse? And a lot of literature says, well, we don't know. But then started turning over that, well, yeah, they've got this shear test for tack coat, and started using that machine, they found out, oh yeah, it does make a difference. So we started using the Clark County to require that all lifts are placed, either placed the same day or not, are to have tack coat. We started doing that, we noticed them doing quarry. A lot of times it's not tacked very well, the core will split, okay? We notice it's not splitting, okay? So we feel we made a good decision to have it, no matter what, you put tack coat down on the lifts. So with that, I want to get now the blue book changed over to make that statement, to make sure that every lift is placed for a tack coat, no matter what time it was done.
Our cores show exactly the same
Yeah.
thing, and, you know, depending on temperature sometimes, or if it gets dirty, you know,
Yeah.
if the trucks are running on it, so the tack coat, we see a huge improvement of those cores not coming apart. So
And as far as, I see a suggestion here was to, don't repeat the SS1H name, just refer to section 4 or 5. For that, it's a good point, because it can change to 4 or 5. We had to go and change the entire blue book again. So that makes sense to me.
Good.
Yeah, Was that change made?
That's right
there?
here.
Oh, that's not, that is right there. That was made. All over there. Bless you.
Oh, man. Must be an unhealthy environment here.
Gotcha.
So just not get redundant with those last couple.
Right.
That's good. I have no other questions.
Man, getting excused here.
So, if no other questions or comments, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve this item number 5 with the revisions about the TAC code reference more notation.
Is that clear enough?
Absolutely.
All right. We have a motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 6, that the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada Specification Subcommittee discuss topics of interest. Anybody have any items?
Nothing from the RTC staff, Mr. Chairman?
Anybody else?
No, I have those, next time we'll have those HDDs, yeah. HDD or HHD? Yeah.
ADHD.
ADHD, those specs.
Don't help. Don't help.
Yeah, HDD. Horizontal directional drilling, yeah.
What
So we had
about,
some, we made some changes, I think, we had out for everybody to look at, so I was hoping it would be today, on today's, but it's, no rush, so we'll be on it, hope we'll have it for
Oh, absolutely.
next time.
Yes, for sure.
And I did have another item that I think I did send another item, didn't I? About traffic signal, but I knew it wasn't gonna happen today, I just make sure you got it. Traffic signal,
I'll have to look.
805, all right, take a look.
I'll find it.
All right. No, it wasn't really for general discussion, that's just for me and JP to
All
discuss.
right.
But you can all hear it, I guess.
Any other items?
Yeah, I am working on those RCA and RCB specs. I've received them from the 2 manufacturers, so we're working on it, and I'll probably solicit some input from the entities as we go along.
Doesn't NDOT have RCP
Yes,
specs?
they did.
Yeah, and I was about to ask that question, actually, if you could just, since we do a lot of work, incorporated the regional flood control district into our projects, if you could just give an update as to what you're planning on changing, if you're making any spec changes?
What kind of specs are you looking at?
We're gonna include the precast RCB as part of the blue book, because right now
Don't have any.
it's not for it, and also the reinforced concrete arch.
Okay.
For your guy, I guess,
Arch.
Oh, okay.
I guess,
RCB.
Mr. Chairman, for your, it's been bounced around, and flood control has been asking how to get the process rolling. So this is probably the first you're hearing about it, but flood control has been approached to get these standards into the
Yeah.
blue book since they don't exist currently, so that's what Abby's talking about. She's gonna start working on that,
That's
send
good.
it here, go through the normal process. So it's nothing that you're not gonna see the normal way.
Yeah.
They're just starting the process, and they're gonna propose, they're gonna present a draft to start the review process.
Yeah,
That's good, because it seems like in the past, when we specify precast, we refer to the NDOT specs.
Right.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah, right, and we want to go, and we want to get it more consistent with the blue book.
So I got a question now. NDOT has specs now, so couldn't you, like, apply those specifications to RTC, just change what you want
Yes,
to change?
we'll
Okay.
take a look at those, incorporate it, and
Yeah,
then,
okay, be a lot faster, yeah.
draft it.
We just don't want.
Yeah, they're not going to be that much different.
Yeah, hopefully not the tolerances, because I don't think we can meet those, the gap tolerances that
Or the
NDOT
3/4-inch gap
specifies.
between boxes or something, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're very, I mean, that's why I probably can't, they're like impossible to meet, but,
depending who's making them.
huh?
Depending who's making them.
Yeah.
We'll leave names.
Oh, it goes in,
All right.
It is hard though, 3/4 tough.
Yeah.
but then you can
You
grout them.
you just grout them if you
Yeah,
can't
that's all,
make
right.
it, so you don't have to pull them apart.
Yeah.
All the time, they just fill it with grout.
Will that be including the three-sided box
No,
again?
just,
Don't bring that up.
Oh, I'm just asking.
Yeah, quiet.
just going specifically the precast.
These are monolithic
and,
poured.
concrete part.
All right, any other?
I just want
Sure.
to reiterate that I do want to pursue, but it sounds like we have a time in the future to pursue that 2.5-inch minimum pavement lip for 3/4 inch rock. They're not able to compact it, you're crushing aggregate, and we do it all, we've been doing it for years, as well as get away from a 4-inch lift and the ride quality we've been seeing, at least have that conversation. We can take that up though when we.
Yeah. Do you think they're over rolling with a rolling pattern, or maybe putting too heavy of equipment? Because normally the thickness of a mat, which might, may add to that, but it's 2.5, the diameter of your biggest rock.
So in a 3/4 inch, you can't do 2. It doesn't pass the asphalt handbook. 3/4 inch rock needs to be, to meet the ASHTO asphalt handbook, it has to be more than 2 inches. It's like 2 1/4.
Right, it's like 2 and change.
But that's the loose thickness, right? But once you compact it, you come down to 2-inch lifts.
That isn't how my
Oh, and you're
smart
saying-
people interpret it, so we've been doing it that way all this time, talking to industry, talking to paving, and actually seeing in the field, especially when you have colder temperatures, that kind of stuff, they can't get densities, they're crushing rock, and so we think we're gonna get a better product in the end, also help industry. Yeah, it's gonna cost a little bit, but I think we're getting better ride quality with 2.5-inch lifts rather than one big 4-inch lift, and they're gonna have a better time, putting it down and achieving densities. So that's been, like I said, I'm not the smart guy in the room here, but that's kind of what I want to talk about and pursue with the group.
And as well, on a side note, when we start talking about thicknesses, I think we should start having conversations on arterials of bringing dense grade up to the final surface until we know everything is all done, and then RTC can come back and do a mill and overlay so that it's all done at one time.
RTC?
Well, when we pay for a project for a maintenance, right? When the arterial's all said and done, and all the developments and all the parcels adjacent to it are developed, and there's no more patching going back and forth?
I think we dabble in the 5-year no-cut is what you're talking about.
Yes.
That we have that detail, and that's the best we have now, if there's a way to improve that.
Right, so, but instead of having that done and then having all these special patches being done, if we would just get everybody in there and we know the road is done, then we just come right back in. This way the curb and gutters work while it's waiting for everybody to develop.
We shouldn't be leaving it down. That's been
Oh, you're right.
a fatal flaw in the
Right.
past, where we left it down for the open grade back in the day.
Right,
No more.
right, but I'm saying no need to put the open grade until we know everything is done, and we can come do and.
Full depth, dense grade, and then 10 years from now, when they're done, there's a
come back
future
in.
product to do a top coat with the UTAX, which I think is the kind of the new
Yeah.
MO.
I would like that to be a part of that discussion as well, when we start talking about the thicknesses.
Do you, how do the other entities handle, we're using the 5-year no-cut on all streets. Residential, I mean, is everyone else applying it that way?
Last year, now we're cutting.
Anybody?
We try to do that as NDOT, but
I've never seen it really work. I don't know.
So we're making developers now, if a developer comes in and says, oh, I forgot this gas, this, you're gonna give me that 5-year no-cut patch. So you're gonna give me a 100-foot long patch, 1 lane wide, and we're enforcing that. So I'll be interested to see if industry is giving grief to anyone, but we're having that a lot of times. These developers get busy or get in a hurry, forget stuff, gas services or whatever, and then they go start cutting brand new streets in Cadence or Inspirado. We say, well, now you're gonna pave a 100-foot patch. I'm not taking a 4-foot patch.
HDD for Jeremy.
What's that?
Oh, HD.
HDD.
You can't tap a existing water main very well that way.
You can't, you just can't.
Yeah.
Anyway, all good stuff. I think that's stuff for the future for sure.
Yeah.
And you talk about pet peeves, my pet peeve is calling it a five-cut, no-cut policy. It's really a 5-year cut policy.
Yeah.
Sure, it's what you have to do to
I
cut
didn't-
in the 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, strike that from the record.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, item number 7 is our final call to the public. Seeing none, I guess we are adjourned.
Awesome, thank you.
So is the recorder off?